Hello everyone, my name is Tiffany. I'm the Tipsy Artist. Today we are painting this adorable Santa lamb. So it's very precious and I just love him. He's so cute. He or she, whatever. So super cute. This is the original. This is the inspiration. This is also my fine art collection on my website. So you're welcome to purchase it that way if you don't want to do a painting kit. But we're also going to teach you how to paint this today too. So we have a lovely painting kit that has all the supplies for you. So let me go ahead and place this off to the side here. As I knock over my bottle of water. All right. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about the part that makes it really easy. So we have a traceable here for y'all. So this will come with your kit, and we're going to shift camera views here in just a second so you can see all of our setup and our supplies and everything that comes with your kit. But this is the line art, and this is your canvas. You've got some transfer paper here. Again, this all comes in your kit, and you want to make sure as you set this up, it's just in the center. It's just in the center, and then I've got tape just up here at the top. I'm going to leave the sides free so that I can check my work as I go. And other helpful hint is to make sure that the transfer paper dull gray side faces up, and then the shiny black side faces your canvas. And I have worked ahead a little bit here, but I'll go over that here with you with a different camera view. So we're going to go ahead and switch here. Let's see. Video. Okay. Let's adjust. There we go. All right, so this gives you an idea of setup here with the transfer paper. And since I have worked ahead, but how we do it is your kit comes with a pencil. So every place that there's a line, you'll just trace right over the top. And then you can do a little bit of sketch too for the lighter sections. And as I mentioned, I did work ahead. So I'm going to go ahead and lift this off. I'm done with the trace. And this can just, I just toss this usually when I'm done here. And then I went ahead and took the permanent marker. This also comes with your kit. And I went ahead and outlined the major shapes here. The parts that are just a little bit of that shading, I just left that as the softer graphite line because I don't want to have to contend with that dark hard line in there. So it just reminds me that there's a little bit of shading there that has to happen. But this helps a lot to go ahead and get the main shape in place. So we are done working with these tools for right now. So I'm going to place those off to the side. And when we get set up here, I'm going to make sure we have a bucket of water nearby. That's the only thing that does not come with the kit. But what does is our napkins, our little family of brushes. So we have, let's introduce you. We have, this is Mama, and then we have Little Buddy, and then we have Little Bit. Then we have our little palette knife, our napkins, our water. I've got 2 mixing plates here. Those come with it. I've got a little head start here with some white and some black. And then here is your paint. So when you get it, it'll be in a box like this. It'll look like this to begin with here. All right. There's also a little apron in there too. So that's really nice. Helps protect your clothing. Okay. All righty, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with our background first. So your Mama brush will be new, and it's usually stiff because it's new. So we're going to go ahead and push it into the water just a little bit, do a little bit of a circular spin, firm pressure, and then let's go ahead and just dry off so that our bristles are flexible, a little bit moist, and we're really good. We're good to go there. All right, so the colors that are happening here in the background, we're going to be making very, very light slate color. So we'll be starting with the white. I'll be picking up like a dollop of white like this. Super tiny little touch into the black. We'll be mixing that together for this really pretty light gray. I'm going to put this off to the side for just a second. Those 2 colors, again, will be these 2 here, titanium white, Mars black. Those will be our starting points there. And then I like to have a little bit of this primary cyan blue. So when your paints are brand new, you're going to have to take off this silver foil lining. I'm going to do a nice little dollop here onto the side. About a little dime size amount. I'll give you a little visual here. So we'll have just a little tiny touch of that we can touch into to mix back and forth. And then every once in a while I have a little bit of this cream happening, so I need to go ahead and mix up that as well. We'll use some primary yellow for that. And again, another little dime size amount onto the side. So the mix on this, we're going to take little buddy here. We're going to do a dollop of the white, little tiny touch of the yellow. We're going to mix those two together. Looks very buttery, very pale yellow. And a little bit more white to that. I'm going to do just a teeny tiny little touch of the black, just barely dip into it. A little bit more white, a little bit more yellow. So it's like a little bit of that gray mixed in with the yellow. So it's gives us some of that light taupe color that's happening here in the background. And then I'm also going to mix up just a wee bit. Actually, I'll wait on the brown. We do want to mix up brown, but I'll do that a little bit later. So I'm going to squeegee out that paint and then let little buddy sit in the water. You can let him sit, or you can, I'm gonna let him sit for just a little bit. We are using acrylic paints. They do set up and dry very quickly. So if you do not have a chance to wash them right away, just let them sit in the water at least so they do not dry up and become little sticks. Okay, so we're going to go back to the mama brush. We're going to pick up some of this really pretty white, little touch of that blue, that primary cyan blue. And we're just going to do like little tiny crisscrosses here into the background. And also just pure white. Work that back and forth. And then a little bit of that light gray we mixed up. We'll work that in. And the background stroke again, it'll kind of feel like making little tiny letter X's over and over again, like a little cross stroke. And again, some of that pure white. So when we do cut in work, we can hold the brush a little bit more like you would hold a pencil. So it gives us that thin line edge that you can use to do a cut in around the shape. And then when we work into the larger section here in the background, then you want to turn the brush a little bit more over to the side. I touched into a little bit of that creamy taupe color we mixed up. I'm going to work that in, a little bit of that little vertical stroke here, back and forth. And I'm going to go back into that white and that little touch of blue and that gray. We're going to work that in. And little vertical strokes or like little crosses like this. So crisscross like the letter X. That's a nice texture too. A little bit of white. A little bit of that vertical stroke now. Up and down. A little bit of this cream color. And some more white here. Right up next to that edge. Right there. Speaking of water, a little bit. And grab a little bit more of that primary cyan blue, some of that white, a little bit of that black, make some of that slate. We're going to work that into this corner. And some more white, a little touch of that. Push that back and forth. A little bit more white. And if you're struggling with getting good coverage here into the background, you can also add a little bit of water to that, and that'll help make that paint kind of flow into the pores of the canvas. A little bit of white. Now hold that brush a little bit more over to the side, allow that flat side of the brush to face the canvas. Water. Let it flow a little bit. And again, this is more of that slate gray. So again, it is white, getting a tiny amount of black and a little bit of our primary cyan blue that makes this really pretty slate color. And a little touch of that cream over here on the side will hint of that. A little bit of that here too. All right, so, and there's a little bit more texture that could be placed into this, but of course we have our palette knife that we'll be using for that texture. We'll do a lot more of that towards the very end too. All right, I'm gonna do a little rinse here with my mama. I'll go ahead and rinse out both these brushes here. And that's my clean. And then round and round and round, spin firm pressure. That will help release the paint. And let's go ahead and dry off. All right, so we want to make sure we've got some more of our gray mixed up, so there's a little bit of black with our white. A bit more of that with a little light gray. I'm going to do a little outline here. Push this into this, will eventually be mostly white. I'm just doing the gray foundation. All right, so when it rips out a little bit, dry off, we're going to go ahead and pick up some of this pure white, and I'm going to work this into that top here. And just lay it on like thickly here, and then to get nice opaque coverage, just hold your handle more over to the side. And that will allow a lot more of that paint just rest right on the surface area. And again, this is our first stroke here with this, so we'll be laying on a little bit more of a thick texture with the palette knife a little bit later on. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and work in some of that white with a little bit of that soft gray into this little ball here. Get the first layer there too. A little bit more of that gray on this side. A little soft curve there on the side of that. Grab a little bit more of that light gray and kind of push that down underneath here. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and rinse out. Wow. Let's go ahead and use our little buddy brush here. And we're gonna have some of this, maybe teeny tiny little touch of the black. Just hold the brush more like a pencil so we have that nice thin line edge. We're just gonna line that across the bottom. Across the bottom here. A little bit of that shadow in there. Press into the black. And we're going to go ahead and lighten up, go into more of those lighter grays here. We're just going to kind of crisscross that back and forth. And grab some white, lighten it up. I'm going to lighten up a little bit now. I'm going to rinse out, get that dark gray out of there. And grab a little bit more of just the pure white. And push that in for the top. Just cross it back and forth. And I'm going to grab a little bit of that creamy color that we had in the beginning. We'll add little touches of that in here too. And crisscross it back and forth. Be really careful around those eyes. You don't want to disrupt the eye there with this cream. And I'm going to take this cream right to where that little line is. That's our little boundary there. So cream up to that point. White here, grab some more of this pure white and push this in over the top. Soft blend. And I'm going to rinse out. I got my little bit brush here because I need tinier brush to do the soft blend in here. So I'm going to take a little bit and a little bit of water. We're going to touch into this light gray. And I'm just going to do a little bit of this light gray right in here. This little, it's just like a little V. Goes across. Relax up there. Some gray. Bits in here. Bits in here. Like a curve, like almost a C shape here. Out and then quickly come into the white. Crisscross that white into that gray. It's softly blended. It's going to work wet paint to wet paint. Get a soft mix between the two. Soft little touches in there. And just think about that little tiny little letter X or little cross strokes happening there to kind of softly blend and wet paint to wet paint. A little bit of gray. Work that in and work back and forth between that gray and that white. A little bit of cream. Cream in here. There's one around that eye. A little bit of gray on the eye. Um, Yeah, it's just a lot of back and forth there. And then we have a few little white eyelashes that come around the face here. So I'm gonna do a little line of white, a little eyelash that comes down. Eyeliner there too. And then come back in with this gray, kind of work that in, little touches of that. Got a black in there with the brush, kind of darken that up. There we can touch down for a bit of black. Tap. Tap, just a little bit of black in there. A little bit of black, a little bit of tap. And a little bit of water with the black makes it a little easier to work in. With touches. The dark charcoal gray. White, just kind of push that in here. Softly blend back and forth between the two. Now I'm going to come in with a little bit more of this black and work this underneath that chin there. Work in some of that shadow. And bring that down like a letter V. Rinse out a little bit here, go back to my little Betty. And we're going to touch a little bit more of that black. And crisscross back and forth, and sketchy like that. And I mentioned we needed some green. So we're going to take some cadmium orange. I'm going to do a dollop of the orange over here. So when you mix orange and black, you get brown. And you add a little bit of white to that. That makes a light brown. That's going to come in handy here. Start working this in. A little bit of white with that brown. And we're just going to do little touches of that and push that back and forth. And then some white. We'll alternate with that white. Touch that in. A little tiny cross strokes back and forth. That brown and then that white. We just crisscross back and forth. And then more white here. And then I also work in some of that cream too. That's that yellow and the gray. You can add a little bit of brown to that too, which is kind of nice. A little bit more white to kind of lighten it up. And just you can feel the crisscross just back and forth. A little bit more yellow on this side. That cream, a little bit more yellow and white. And as we pull it to this side, a little bit of that hair texture, so do little short strokes and just lift off with a light hand. And I want to make sure I don't lose this little line here, so I'm going to reinforce that with a little bit of this gray. Just add a little shadow. A little bit, just kind of do those little hair strokes off to the side. And then and we want these to be like little short, choppy little strokes. Get that nice texture back and forth. And it's a lot of going back and forth with variety between the white and the taupe and the brown. And you basically, all these colors that you mix up, you're kind of circling back through them a lot. With the creams and the taupes and the browns and the light browns and the white and a little bit of black. So you're just kind of having to alternate through there pretty quickly and just crisscross back and forth. When it gets a little bit darker, you'll add a shadow and then see it lighten up a little bit, and you'll come in with more of that white and that golden cream. A little bit of white there. Go ahead and fill in that a little bit here. A little bit of water to make it a little bit more fluid. Go into the pores of the canvas. Little tiny touches, short strokes. How about yellow? Fill that in on the side. Back and forth. A little bit of that gray. The white. A little bit of white accent here. Yellow here. A little bit of white. We still have palette knife pattern to put in, so we've got some good brush strokes working. And let's see, I'm going to work on my ears a little bit here, so take a little bit. And we're going to work a little bit more of a darker shadow here with that darker gray into the middle. Lighter gray, put that in. Kind of keep that little back and forth going for that texture. And here, same thing, some of that black. And add a little bit of water, let it flow into that space. Don't pick up some of that lighter gray. That's I'm gonna have some of that gray shadow in it, just like this little touch of that. That's second. Second. Rinse out. And then take a little bit here and do some white or really light gray. And then working around the ears. Put a little light gray. Light sketch around the side there. And white. Yeah, just. Yeah, you can do a little bit of a soft overpaint that will blend a little bit in the center. Go back to that darker. And kind of softly blend that. Wet paint to wet paint blend, so the darker charcoal gray kind of softly blends with that white. And this is still going to make sure maybe refresh the wetness here on this side. Do some white around the edges here. White around the edges here. The point. And then let's go a little dark again here in the center and work wet paint to wet paint, a soft over paint, working those two together. We had a blue with that slate. Little shadow here. That slate. And grab that slate again, primary cyan blue with the gray, mix that slate color. I'm gonna grab a little bit of white with that too. Drag that underneath here. And touches of that slate blue around here. And here, touches. More pretty. It's really use of our red up at the top. All right, so we'll use some cadmium red. Little dollop here. And I want to cool it off a little bit, so we'll add some primary magenta to it because it's a very warm red to start with. So I mix these two together. And let's grab a little bit. All right, cadmium red, primary magenta, let's mix. Okay, now we're gonna just push this. So cutting work around the edges, you hold it more like a pencil. And to get a more opaque finish, turn that handle more over to the side. finish out with a little bit more of a thick coat here, second coat, and then you get that by turning that handle more over to the side. And let's rinse out. Let's go ahead and grab our little bit brush, and we're going to touch into a little bit of that black, and we're going to mix into the hat here to make those little shadows. And when it does interact with our red, it just kind of goes with a crimson color, so it's a really nice look. So I'm going to go over that with a little bit of a sketch there. Now wiggle the brush a little bit, mixes with that red, it just makes a little bit of a shadow. A little bit of an outline here. Lightly touch the canvas. Light hand. Get a light sketch with that. Places where we can see some wrinkles might happen, or the boundary around the hat, and then we come back in with this red, soften that a little bit. And then over the top, again, more of that, just right over the top of that black, softly blends, wet paint to wet paint. Maybe a little bit of a scribble, a little bit there. Add more of that brighter red right over the top to brighten it up. Little pushes back and forth. All right, so cute, looking good. Okay. All right, let's rinse out here. And then I'm going to come back in this is a little bit, do a little twirl here into our black, and then a little bit of water just to loosen it up here, make it more fluid. Another little twirl, nice fine point with a lot of precision here. So I'm going to come around and kind of run with this little eye and go over with the black, a little bit more fuller on that side. Over this side. And if you need to redo your little flash points, ours look great because the white canvas is just peeking through there because we didn't paint over it. But a fun little trick in case you blackened all your eyes in and you need to recapture the flash points. Little trick, take the end of your brush on the wooden side, just barely touch into the white paint. And then we're just going to touch down like this. Like this. Okay. All right, now palette knife done. Okay, so palette knife, we're gonna take this into, I'm gonna touch into the white a little bit here. And I like to work it in over the top of the hat. It's fun, just a little bit of texture. Every kind of drag. You can do little sections at the tip here, just kind of lightly place that down, do a light little drag with it. Gives a lot of that texture and brings us a little closer. See, that's something only a palette knife can really accomplish. And it's going to touch a little bit more into that white. You know, a little bit of a touch here. Be real gentle. Pull some of that across. little teenier little areas by just using the tip and then just kind of lightly push it. A little bit of that texture. Do some of that here. Just kind of lightly pull a little bit of that texture around and do a little bit on this side here. Push a little bit out in the background too. You can also come back in with that primary cyan blues and those, like that slate color. I'll grab a little bit of the gray and the slate. Mix up some white, and that blue, gray. There's my slate. So see, I can kind of push that over the top, make a little texture of that too. Little red gun in there, that's okay. It's kind of fun. All that slate, just kind of working it up and down there. Take a little bit of that cream. Drag it across, a little texture. Vertical. And then you can also do some of the fur texture with your palette knife too. So, like you've got a little bit of that white and that cream. Push it back and forth. So you can kind of drag your palette knife over the top of that. And just do light little pulls. Gray. Let's grab a little bit more of that. Mix it up. That on a little bit there. And just like little pulls with it back and forth. You can even touch into a little bit of that black and kind of push that in there. And then we'll come back in and lighten up a little bit. So, and you can also just work back in with your like little buddy, you can come back in too. And again, it's a very playful process. So you can kind of work back in between brush and your palette knife. White. So it's just a very patient process. Lots of different layers here. Lots of back and forth in that mix of wet paint to wet paint. Sometimes a few little flicks off here to the side of like fur. A little bit of that white and brown, very light matte. And just back and forth, lots of back and forth. Wiggle. A little bit of that blue in there. And then a little touch of that slate. Now it's a little bit more white, just gonna make it a bit more thick, right up near the edge. So, and every time I do this, it is, it's a very organic process. It changes a little bit when I do it every time. It's not exactly the same. Go a little bit on this way. I can push it. Just sketch around there. Vertical curls from there. Sketch of white, watery white around here. Vertical curls. All right. Well, I could just keep on playing until you play, I think. But that's not what we have to go. Okay, we're done here. All right. So Santa Lamb looks adorable. And you can sign this. I recommend you waiting for this to completely dry, and then you can use your permanent marker to go ahead and sign just right here in this bottom corner. Mine is still very wet, so I'm going to give mine some time, and then I'll sign a little bit later, but this is fun. I love it. Looks great. So thank you again so very much for joining us today. We've had so much fun with y'all. This is our Santa Lamb, very precious. And it is on our website, tipsyartist.com. You can get all the supplies that you need. And we just love painting with y'all. If you have any questions, just please let us know. But have a wonderful day and a very Merry Christmas. Much love to y'all. Bye-bye.